Welcome back, GRD 122W1, Graphic Design 2, to part 4 of our Jiffy Box. And this is our project 2. And so far, we've worked in Figma and come up with a kind of title look here, a logo kind of type that we're using, and all-purpose baking mix, America's favorite. We kind of have a basic kind of framework of where we want to put in some photographic imagery and also some effects. So we're going to do that in Photopea. So we downloaded a Figma file, a local file, by going File, Save Local Copy, and it saved a FIG file, F-I-G, to my downloads. So I'm going to go to Photopea and open it up. And there it is. And it did bring in all this stuff on the side. But what we can do is basically delete it. Original logo, do we need that? No, let's delete it. Group 1, what is group 1? It's that thing. No, we don't need it. Actually, we don't need anything but this. This is our frame, 6.5 by 8.5 by 216 pixels per inch. That's this. So if we don't need all that stuff on the side, and we don't need it in Photopea, we still have it here, but we just want all this stuff. Now group 2, I forget what group 2, oh, that's our logo. I should rename that. But anyway, any of this stuff, I mean, and obviously turn it on and off to see what you need, but I don't need any of that. So I'm just going to use the trash can here and go to all these layers and just delete them. Jiffy, delete. Group 2, delete. Make sure you don't delete the one that says 6.5. And also make sure that you have the right stuff on there. So, you know, if you delete something and it's not there, that's why you want to check and just make sure you're deleting something that's off to the side. We'll delete that. Jiffy, there's another Jiffy over there, and we'll delete that. So we're taking all that stuff on the outskirts of your canvas. And the reason you don't see them, because in Photoshop, they're not seen. You only see the stuff that's in this area here. So now we can open this up and look at some of this stuff. So we should be able to select this. And so let's check this out a little bit. Let's zoom in a little bit more here. And I'm clicking on this and it's not showing up. Anybody know why that is? Well, I don't have auto select on, so I want auto select on. And actually all-purpose baking mix. I think I had this problem before with Roboto. Now I could go in here and just kind of squash it a little and do something like that. Or I could try and convert it to outlines and then copy and paste it. And then we can actually use the original one later. So I think what I'll do for now, since this isn't working that well, I'm just squashing it in just a little bit. So actually let's check the font. I'll double click on there and we'll go on this T tool and it's Roboto. I think I had this problem before, the same one. And I'll put in Roboto. And I think it was Roboto condensed bold. So let me just use bold for now and then just squash it. And we could go back and use the original. Now that I have that in there, I think I'm just going to go on my arrow and let me just kind of bring it out again and do something like that. And I'm not sure if that's the way that looked. See, that's a little more of a condensed font. The letters themselves are narrower. This is not, but don't worry about that yet. I'm just going to squash it just so it fits. I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about our photographs and everything else. So I'm going to click off of this and click on the arrow and go in here. Remember, some of the effects we could put on this, it's called Group 2 right now. We could put layer styles on here. We could do a gradient. We could do a stroke. We could do a shadow. We could do bevel and emboss. We could do all kinds of stuff. Let's just try something. Let's just go to layer. We don't want to do a lot, so let's go to layer style. And let's try, first of all, let's put a stroke on it. We could do all the stuff here, so let's put a stroke on it. And you might say, well, the stroke isn't going to show up. Well, we may want to put a shadow over the stroke. So let's put a stroke and make it white. Well, make it thicker. Now we don't want something like that. So let's go down a little bit and maybe something in between and maybe make it white. And again, you're not going to see it white. Let me go yellow for now and just kind of do an off-white just so we can still see it. And let me go back here, put it in the color. Make sure you hit OK on the color first, then you can kind of look. Now that doesn't look good, but we're going to put a drop shadow on there. We'll throw a drop shadow behind there. Increase your distance a little, increase the size a little bit, and then also uncheck global light so it kind of goes down like that. Something like that looks okay. Now we're going to have to move all-purpose baking mix, so that's okay. And then even the stroke, you may want to take it down just a little. Maybe you don't need so much of a stroke. And we'll even try Bevel and emboss. Let's see what that looks like. Put a little bevel and emboss on there. We'll increase the depth a little bit, increase the size a little bit. Not that much. Go back a little. Something like that. Has kind of a nice look. That's a nice look. I think the shadow's a little overpowering right now. Let me go back to the shadow size. I'm going to go down a little. I'm going to go down on the distance a little bit. Just a subtle shadow I want. And I like to keep them about the same. And even the opacity, I'm going to turn down the shadow. I don't need a lot of shadow. And I'll just do that. Maybe we don't even need the line on it. But usually a shadow will look better on a white line than on the blue. It'll look kind of muddy. So we'll try that. And that's kind of a neat look. And I'll see if I can click on baking mix and just kind of move that out of there a little, scrunch it a little bit more. We could certainly put a drop shadow on baking mix or something else, but that's good for now. Let me click off of it or onto something else. And let's get a image in there. Let's go look for something. Let's go find pancakes, some nice pancakes. Even though it's all-purpose baking mix, we'll look for some images of pancakes. And again, we can get rid of the background. We can do all kinds of stuff. We might want to get in blueberries and strawberries and stuff and kind of build up the color. Let me take a look at this. This has something on there. That's okay. We could crop it off. Again, we're using this for educational purposes. So that's kind of interesting. It's not very, that's interesting. And almost like some butter in there. But, you know, we could just try something for now. I'll grab that. I'll right click, copy image. Go back here, zoom out a little, and I'll put it above blue box. Or actually, it should be above everything. So I'll go on the bottom and then I'll paste it. Now, that's kind of interesting. I kind of like that. I need it to be a little bit bigger. Oh, actually in Photopea, you don't hold shift. So I'll bring that in a little bit. We don't need the plate completely. That's kind of interesting. Not a bad layout. Now we can move up the Jiffy a little bit. That's actually looks pretty nice. Make it a little, I'll hold shift to make it a little wider. Bring that down a little bit. That's kind of a nice look to it. It's not too bad at all. I don't even need to do anything to the background actually. Make it a little bit smaller. You could always clone some image if you need. But that's not too bad. You know, we could get rid of the background if we don't want the background, but the background's very subtle, so it's not too bad. And it makes that work a little bit better. So let me hit return. That's not a bad image. I could warm it up. Nice thing to do sometimes is warm it up. How do you warm it up? You go to image, adjustments, photo filter, and warm it up. Now that's way too warm, but we'll warm it up a little. Get a little warmth. Now just preview on and off. Just a little bit of warmth to it. Maybe not even that much. Maybe like 15%, something like that. Before, after, just to warm it up a little, maybe even a little less, maybe even 12%. Just to get a little warmth to it. That looks okay. Maybe lighten it. Image, adjustments, levels. And I'll just brighten up those pancakes. It'll brighten up the background too. So if we brighten this up, it'll brighten up the background a little bit too. Now, I don't want to lose all the detail there. You see the pancakes are getting too much, so I'll lighten it up just a little. And maybe I'll lighten the midtones a little. And then maybe darken the contrast. Well, maybe not. Maybe just lighten the midtones just a little bit. And I'll hit OK. And we could blur the background. We could do all kinds of things. We could even increase the saturation. We said the color, but we could go to Image, Adjustments, Saturation. That would be under Hue Saturation. And let me go to, oh, I resized it. Let me hit Enter. Let me go back here again. And let me go Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. There it is. And let me just pump up the color a little bit. You don't want to go that much, but just bump it up just a little. Get a little burst of color in there. You could even zoom in here and kick up the sharpening. Go in here and go to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. Now this is up a lot, so usually I start at like 1.2 or something like that. I'll try 1.5. Now that's up quite a bit, but that's okay. It's products. People are going to see it on a shelf. So kicking this up a little to maybe to 2, 155, nothing wrong with that. You want to get a little pop in there because people are going to see this from far away. So I have it up at like 160. It depends on the image you have. You know, this isn't a real sharp image. So increasing that just a little bit, even exaggerating even a little bit more. That's good. And maybe I'll take this thing and just nudge it up a little bit, and I'll zoom in. And I'll take this and I'll nudge it in there a little bit. I'll squash it a little bit and then maybe make it bigger. I'll hold shift and make it bigger. And we may use the original text for that anyway, and I'll show you what I mean when we bring it back to Figma. But right now, I think that's pretty good. Just to try out some other things, I could go in here on America's Favorite. I think I scaled that. I have to hit enter. If you're ever not sure what's going on, look over here. If you see a checkbox, then hit check. Now I'm going to click on America's Favorite, and I could put a stroke on there. I could put a drop shadow. I might put a drop shadow on that, just a very tight one. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go to Layer, Layer Style, and I'll go to Drop Shadow. And there's the drop shadow. Now that's way too much. It's real kind of soft and fuzzy. I'll take it back a little bit, and let's see my distance. I don't like the angle. I'm going to change the angle a little bit, make it go to the right a little bit, and then bring it closer, just something like that. You could even increase the spread. The spread will make it almost kind of darker if you increase the spread a little, but I'll increase the size a little, distance just a little bit, size down. Don't want the size up there very much, distance a little bit more, just something very subtle like that. And that looks okay. We could probably do the same thing down here. Now you could even copy this. You can even right click, layer style, copy, and then go down to quality and value and right click, layer style, paste. And it'll take that same drop shadow. And we have an issue here because our weight doesn't look good. We could move it away from the blueberries. We could move it somewhere else. So let me go back on my arrow here and click somewhere else. I'll grab on the weight, grab it, move it up a little. We could put it there. It could be over there on the right side. We could move it over here. It's probably a little on the large size. Or we could put a little stroke around it, or a glow or something like that. We could even put it in a dark blue color, just so it's not kind of stark black. Let's try that. Let's try layer, layer style, color overlay, and let's try like a blue color. Now we want kind of a dull blue. We actually want this color, and then we'll make it darker. We'll make a dark version of the blue we're using. And then maybe we could put like an outer glow. Let's see what this looks like. Sometimes this is a little hard to work with, but blend, I'm going to put normal. And then for color, I'll make it just a little brighter. I won't make it complete white. And I'll hit OK. And spread, let's see what this looks like. Sometimes the outer glow doesn't work really well, but I'll put that up a little bit. I'll even spread it a little more. And let's see if that, I'll hit OK. And move it down here, see if it goes over top of the blueberries. That's okay. And if you don't like it, double click on it. Outer glow, maybe I'll put the opacity all the way up, or maybe close to being up, so it stands out a little more, a little more size. That's a little more glow. Spread makes it really harsh, so I'm going to turn spread down a little. And opacity I'll put up even a little higher. Now it is taking away from the blueberries, so I don't know if I want to do that, but for now I think what I have going on is okay. I hold my space bar, move it around, zoom in, and that's not too bad. That's not a bad layout considering what we started with. We could put a drop shadow under this red thing. We could go to layer style, drop shadow, and we'd put a drop shadow straight down. We kind of, if you put this up, it goes in the opposite. So I'll put it straight up at, I think, 90 degrees. I have to go up here. I think it goes 90 degrees would be straight up. I'll put that there. I can zoom in. That looks okay. I want to increase the size a little bit, a little more blurry. I'll take the spread down. Don't need spread at all, and take the size down just a little. That looks okay. Maybe I'll even blur it a little bit more and create a little shadow there. I don't know if I need one here. I don't think it's necessary here, but that's not a bad looking layout of what we're doing. I don't have any pop dots, anything like that. I didn't add any color. Now maybe you'd have to get rid of the background and put your own kind of background in there, but that's not too bad. That's a pretty decent layout. Now what I'm going to do here is go File, Save as PSD, because I didn't save it down to my computer yet. And you could take the fig out here And you could save it wherever you're saving things. Now, I didn't even make a folder yet. Right now it's in downloads. Probably don't want to keep it in downloads. I'm going to go here to Spring 2023, GRD 122. Now, I didn't even make a folder for this yet, but I probably should. I should go in here, Jiffy Box. Now, this is an older thing. I'm going to put it in here because I do have a Jiffy Box folder, but I'll put it in here. Make sure you make a folder and put your stuff in there. Even your fig file should be in here. So I should really, this P2 Jiffy Box, maybe I'll use the one that had 2 here. I think this was an extra one. I'll save it in here. So that's where it's saved. And then I could even go to my downloads, and in case I ever need this, although it's easy to make another fig file, that's not a big deal. You can always just go to Figma and make a new file because your Figma file's online, so having this isn't really going to help. Probably if you go back again, you'll be making a change to all-purpose baking mix or something like that. So I'm going to stop here with part 4 because we have a pretty nice layout. And I was lucky to find some pancakes that had some nice strawberries and blueberries and stuff like that. We have blueberries up here. I guess it's not a big deal that they're down there. I could move this up a little and get the blueberry in the picture a little bit. Just that fixes it. Although I'm getting it now closer to my logo, so I have an issue with my logo. Could I squash the image a little? Sure. I could hold shift and squash it. Now you might say, well, you're not supposed to squash photographic images. Yeah, but who's going to know with pancakes? You know, you don't want to do that with someone's face. But with pancakes, who's going to know? So you could squash it a little, so that doesn't look too bad. So it's off to a pretty good start. I'll hit enter here, the checkbox, and that's a pretty good layout so far. I'm going to make sure I save this, Command S, or you could go over here and do File Save, and that's my Photoshop. Now I could stop here and say that's great, but there's still some subtle things we want to do. So, and I also want to talk to you about making sure that we have good vector art and that we're not using rasterized vector art. Meaning, if I zoom in here, you know, we're rasterizing this. Now, why do we need to? We don't. Do we need to rasterize this? Probably, because we're using all these effects and stuff. But this stuff could probably stay the original text. This could stay the original text. And so could this. Now you might be saying, well, what about a shadow and stuff like that? Well, we could turn this stuff off and just leave the original. So that's the kind of thing I'm going to do in the next video. But I think for now, if you got to this point, that's pretty good. And remember, if you ever need to save a Photoshop file with me, or if you run into any problem, you just have to go to File, Share, and just go to this Photopea.com. It'll save it online, and it'll create a link that you could copy and paste it in an email. You could put it in your comments. Actually, put it in your comments is probably easier at first, because then at least it's saved. Although if you put it in an email, it's saved too. But you want to make sure that you keep it, because you're not going to remember what it is. They do have file space in here in the cloud now, but if you could save it on your computer, save it on your computer. It'll probably work faster. They have PSD to storage. They have P drive, and it just saves it in there. There's no way to share it. So until they have a way to share it, it's not really that helpful. You could save it to Google Drive or just save it to your hard drive if you need to. But this is good for now. This isn't a bad layout. We have nice colors, a nice look, nice little update to our package so far. Nice kind of bold looking heading that certainly looks better than the original. Again, it's always nice to go back here and look at this and say, oh, what about that compared to this? A lot better. Before, after. A lot better. Now, there's certainly more we could do here, and we'll save that for part 5. But for the first 4 videos, this is a good spot to be in. So we have a lot to work on here. We'll see you back whenever I get part 5 done.